G'day guys, it's been a while, but today the $1,000 patrol is back and we are putting in a cheap-ish solar setup, 12-volt setup. Keeping with the theme of the $1,000 patrol and trying to keep things on some form of a budget. This is what I've come up with. Yes, you can clearly go much better. Yes, you can also go cheaper. But for what we want to do with the car, where we want to go, what we want to charge, this is sort of what I come up with. 2 100 amp hour AGM batteries. Picked these up off of Facebook Marketplace for 75 bucks a battery. I did buy 4 of them. 2 of them are getting used in the brother-in-law's camper van. So for the height and the space that they take up, that's why I went with the 200 amps, as well as availability. I was struggling to find any batteries secondhand without spending an absolute ton on them. Facebook Marketplace, that's your friend. Went with a 25 amp projector DC to DC battery charger. Just sits in there. This is where I stuffed up. I read the measurements and I was struggling to find something to fit on the roof rack between the rooftop tent and the front of the rack. These were the dimensions that I thought I was actually buying a 120 watt panel to sit in there. Unfortunately, it's 60, and when they actually come with 2 60 watt panels. So I'm going to fix that and then run a second solar input on Anderson plugs to then run like a 200 watt or something like that solar blanket, foldable solar blanket. So moving on to Anderson plugs. Red for solar Anderson plugs, as well as greys to then run accessories, i.e. the fridge. MIDI fuse holders and MIDI fuses, 50 amp rated, as well as a waterproof circuit breaker. Inline fuse holder, a waterproof inline fuse holder. That's to go on the solar end, or the panel end of the solar input, as well as some cable lugs. eBay for these things, they're 6mm or 6mm hold with a 8BS in and a 12 circuit fuse block with a buzz bar. The way I want to do it is I want to run all neutrals, or sorry, 12 volt world negatives back to a buzz bar and then put them on a post, which will then go back to a battery lug, and then from there follow the 8 BNS back off of the battery lug back to the main starter battery. So enough of the talking. We'll get all this stuff off of the bonnet of the wagon, take that out, we'll get the patrol in here and start putting it all in. Boys, we have a slight issue. Now the rooftop's on, the patrol doesn't fit in the garage anymore. Alright, so this is what this little box was for. In the drawers episode, I sort of alluded to what it was for, and this is why we went the 100 amp hour batteries, purely for size. So we've got about an inch difference between the drawer height and the box, but that's all I could do. The seats still come all the way back. And click into position, and then there's a little lid that goes over. Just running this 8 BNS cable. There is a, probably can't see it in there, there's a grommet up in there where the bonnet cable goes through. I've just pulled the grommet on that, running this 8 BNS through there, taking the kick panel off obviously, and the scuff plate, just a single Phillips head in there, takes that out, pop that out, pull this through. Just for those playing at home, you sort of know a car's life if you have a look at the underlay, see if it's been flooded or anything like that. Safe to say this thing has never been flooded. Alright boys, trim's back in. Same with the rear. And then I've just got the 8BNS coming up through here. Going to put in the resettable circuit breaker here, and then run the power across, and then the negative will go to the battery. So fast forward a little bit, we've got the 50 amp breaker or resettable breaker sitting there, and then the negative extends through, loops back around onto the negative post, which then loops back up to the other battery's negative post at the top there. So now what we'll do is we'll run a positive line from this post here through to the other side, which I've made up a little end plate for with the DC to DC. So from that post on that breaker, we'll come across to the input on the DC to DC. Then from the input, we've got the output, and the output's going to go to this positive post here with the 12 circuit fuse panel in it. Now I know that I've got that upside down. I've done that purely for aesthetics and not having a bunch of negatives coming off of the buzz bar. And then moving up, what I've just got here is this 8BNS, which goes straight onto that positive post. So we'll pull over an active, we'll pull over a positive, which will go into our alternator input. We will run another negative from our fuse holder back to this battery here. And then we can start running outputs to accessories. So we'll start him, come around here, alrighty, we've got the bulk charge going. We have a look at that. We're putting in about 5 amps. 5 amps of charge. If we have a look at our sheet here, tells us about how to read our LED display, and we've got the flashing charge with the solid blue on the AGM. That gives us a bulk charge reading, if you can read that there. So look, I'm going to finish it off there. The weather is starting to turn. I need to put in a couple more Anderson plugs and wire up the outputs off the fuse panel. But I've really been trying to get this video out, and Christmas and whatnot has really held me up. So I'm going to leave it there. I've got some Andersons to put in. I just need to run some wires back to these 12 volt ports here. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Alrighty, just in here, I forgot to film it, but I cut in an Anderson plug at the back here and mounted it to the back side of this little cover. This is going to be one of the solar inputs. That's going to go in there. That'll hold the mounted panel, and then around the back I've already pre-terminated another pair through another Anderson plug. That'll be the second solar input, which will then live at the back just in there. The terminated fridge connector, that there is also going to have its own input. That's going to be a second one.